First up this week, 4chan members ruined Shia LaBeouf's art project with one of the greatest and weirdest games of capture the flag ever. LaBeouf, who is apparently now calling himself a performance artist, started up an art project on Inauguration Day that involves a live stream camera outside the Museum of the Moving Image in New York. The idea of the project is for randos to just walk by and say, "He will not divide us," into the camera 24/7 until Trump leaves office. Except pro-Trumpers started showing up and yelling pro-Trump stuff into the camera and trolling Shia LaBeouf so hard with Hitler jokes that he got pissy and assaulted somebody and got arrested. The museum got sick and tired of all the antics and kicked LaBeouf out. So then he moved it to Albuquerque because who knows why, and apparently there were gunshots somewhere and more trolls showed up and followed him around, and Shia LaBeouf got pissy again and decided to move it again. Now, good old Shia LaBeouf wasn't ready to give up, so he switched to a live stream of a flagpole with a "He will not divide us" flag. This is where it gets hilariously ridiculous. LaBeouf claimed the flag would stand for the duration of Trump's presidency, and for some people, that sounded like a challenge and a really good game of capture the flag. Even though the camera shot showed absolutely nothing but a flag and some clouds, LaBeouf tipped off the trolls by being spotted down in Greenville, Tennessee. People checked out wind patterns. They matched up the time of the sunrise and sunset. They watched local weather reports. They researched flight patterns and online flight radars and bird calls and all this crazy stuff to triangulate the approximate location of the flag in 1 hour. From there, they started following the stars and doing some crazy ancient astronomy stuff to narrow it down, and then sent out a guy to honk his horn around Greenville until they heard it on the stream to mark the location. So Tennessee 4chaners spent the next few hours on a stakeout before they moved in, stole the flag, and put a "Make America Great Again" hat and a Pepe the Frog t-shirt in its place. The whole thing took 4chan only about 36 hours. The flagpole is now bare and desolate, the live stream has been shut off, and the deputy's police report states the flag was stolen by someone named 4chan. One of the other big topics in the news this week is the release of Trump's 2005 tax returns. On his 1040 form, he reported making $150 million that year and paid $38 million in taxes, a rate of about 25%, which some news outlets are actually calling just a small percentage. I don't know about you, but if I was forced to give $38 million to the IRS, I'd be pretty pissed. Now, who exactly released the returns and when is a little fuzzy. Rachel Maddow of MSNBC announced she had the big scoop and promised to reveal the returns on her show. Supposedly, she got the documents from one David K. Johnson of DCReport.org, who just found them anonymously in his mailbox, supposedly. But to spoil the scoop, the White House released the numbers before Maddow could go on her angry 15-minute opening rant. The White House says that Maddow's plans and Johnson's were illegal, though both Johnson and Maddow argue that releasing the returns are part of their First Amendment rights. Johnson also argues that since he doesn't know who sent him the returns, they could have been planted by Trump. The fact that there's no smoking gun or bombshell in the returns, as well as the fact that they're labeled client copy, have contributed to this theory, despite Trump previously saying that he couldn't release his returns due to being audited. Meanwhile, Bernie Sanders paid only 13% according to his 2014 tax returns. Obama paid only 19% in 2015, and liberals aren't saying shit. McDonald's, of all people, launched a Big Mac attack on Trump via Twitter this week, tweeting him directly and declaring he is, quote, "a disgusting excuse of a president." The tweet was pinned briefly before being deleted, probably because McDonald's remembered that it is a disgusting excuse for food. When asked by the people of Twitter what had happened, McDonald's told the public that they had been hacked and were investigating, which is basically the more eloquent version of saying, "New number, who dis?" Trump also released more details of his proposed budget this week, including plans to eliminate the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, along with elimination of the National Endowments of the Arts and cuts to the Institute of Museum and Library Services. The cuts together are just shy of $1 billion. Critics of the cuts argue that the cut is so minuscule that the organization should be kept in place because MUH Big Bird. They claim the cut will kill Big Bird, apparently forgetting the "made possible by the contributions of viewers like you" tagline at the start of every PBS special. Apparently, Big Bird is another one of those technological marvels so complex that it would be impossible without government, even though PBS only gets about 7% of its funding from the government. Liberal critics also say the cut would hurt NPR and claim that rural Republicans are NPR's biggest audience, even though I personally have never met a Republican that listened to NPR unironically. As far as discretionary spending, the EPA is also scheduled to receive a budget cut of 31.4%. The USDA will lose about 21%, Interior will lose almost 29%, and Health and Human Services will go down about 16%. Unfortunately, that money is not being taken out of the budget completely and is instead being distributed among the Departments of Defense and Homeland Security, resulting in a total budget cut of 0.3%. Isn't that just swell? Unfortunately, the rest of the federal budget covers mandatory spending, including Medicare, Social Security, and interest on our trillions of debt. Medicare and Social Security alone account for 64% of all program spending, which is higher than past years and is going to go untouched. Meanwhile, Trump is planning to allocate 9% of the government's income to paying down the interest on the national debt, rather than the previous average of 8%. Whew. The mandatory spending budget is $2.7 trillion. 9% of that is approximately $243 billion. As of 5:28 p.m. on Friday, the national debt clock reads at $19.9 trillion. Now the trouble here is these numbers don't add up at all. Let me tell you though, the debt clock is really an amazing thing to check out if you ever feel the need to be gripped by crippling anxiety. The Department of Justice was given a deadline to provide documents relating to alleged wiretapping of Trump Tower, but wasn't able to do so and missed the deadline. Under threat of subpoena, they were able to meet the new Thursday deadline, and the Senate Intelligence Committee released a statement that no evidence of wiretapping was found, and apparently just happened to release it in the middle of Sean Spicer's press conference. I feel like that was not an accident. Judge Andrew Napolitano appeared on Fox News this week suggesting that no documents would be found based on his understanding that British intelligence actually did the surveillance and then provided that information to the Obama administration. Spicer apparently quoted Napolitano during the official briefing, triggering a major diplomatic moment that ended in Spicer and the National Security Advisor apologizing to Britain. This is the same Sean Spicer who earlier in the week very appropriately wore his flag pin upside down. Now, some random bits and bats to wrap up the week. Anarchists in Portland, Oregon have joined together and have been roaming the streets fixing potholes. Portland Anarchist Road Care's mission statement is to build community solutions outside of the state and provide society with a non-violent view of anarchists. They say they chose filling potholes because of how many statists ask who will build the roads. John McCain pulled a nutty again and accused Rand Paul of working with Vladimir Putin because NATO. North Korea is threatening to make the Fallout games a reality, and the Senate Foreign Relations Committee is throwing around the words regime change. That's exciting. Environmentalists are now accusing yoga pants of being one of the biggest polluters of the world's oceans. Parents of students at Innovation Park Middle School in Florida have started a petition to change the school's name because it contains the acronym PMS, which they find to be offensive and inappropriate for children. And finally, a sad story. Aurora, Colorado's animal control took a family's dog that they had had for 10 years because animal control thinks that he looks like a wolf hybrid. The family got the dog from the county animal shelter and were told he was a German Shepherd mix, but animal control ran genetic tests because they have nothing else to do, are charging the family with keeping an exotic animal, and are threatening to euthanize the dog depending on the results of the test. The family petitioned the courts to let the dog come home while they await the test results, but the court ruled against them. That concludes your Liberty-related news for the week. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And if you really like my videos and want to help me spread the message of liberty, you can help me by also supporting me on Patreon. Until next week, thanks for watching and helping to keep liberty alive.